already pre.
You know what? That might have been from last year when Wade did it.
Okay. All right. We're to a blank page. All right. First of all, I hope you guys remember me from the first day you guys met up at the ropes course. You guys have changed a little bit since then. You guys seem a little bit more comfortable with each other. It's not near as hot as it was that day. We're indoors. But me and Wade are going to kind of, over the next couple of sessions, kind of tag team and team up and try to get some stuff up to give you guys some, hopefully, leadership skills that'll help make this class more valuable to you, as well as just make your life better. That's really, I mean, my goal tonight is actually effective communication through leadership. And I hope it's just not going to just make you a better communicator, but I hope it's going to make you a better human being. And the way you talk. And the way you talk is more powerful than you think. And I'm going to say, your generation has got a bad reputation. I didn't mean to rhyme, but it did. But your generation has a reputation of actually not being very good communicators. Can anyone guess why?
We text too much.
You text too much, right? That is probably the main reason. Why else?
We don't use proper grammar. We use slang.
Use slang, right, exactly. You use, what else? What else do you use? What is the somewhat language of texting? It's all made up of what? Emojis, right. Abbreviations. This was, did anyone even know this abbreviation in texting? That's a 2, by the way. That's giving your 2 cents worth. Believe it or not. I didn't understand this one. Does anyone know what this is? That's a 1.
10
times.
No. They said that's thanks. I don't get it. I'm glad I'm not the only one that didn't get it. I'm glad you young hipsters don't get it either. What is that?
7,000.
I thought the same thing. No, that's sick. That's supposed to be sick. This one bothered me a little bit, but if you know it, for adults only. I don't know why you would text that.
When are people using these?
Where did you find these?
This is actually, as of today, most commonly used text abbreviations. All right, so call out some of the abbreviations you guys use besides this one.
BRB. IDK.
ER. Whoa, E.
No, BRG.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what E. That was one I had. What's another? BRB?
IDK.
Okay, I got that one.
BTW.
GTG.
What?
GTG.
G.
I don't know what that one is.
YW.
Oh, yeah.
YWA or WYA.
LMAO.
Yeah, I say that all.
LMAO.
Yeah.
Or WYD.
WYD. Yeah, I got that one. All right, let's do this like we're in choir. What's this one?
Be right back. I don't know. By the way, gotta go.
Gotta go. I didn't know.
You're welcome. Where you at?
I think yeah.
What are you doing?
Okay. What? Okay, this one's one that threw me off too. This is, I mean, and it would be bad if this was just one website. It was 3.
What does that mean?
I hate you.
I usually just do H.
I do HAU.
H-A-U?
Yeah.
This is, I think that probably if I did this, it might have.
I hate you.
Yeah, I hate you, which I thought was really kind of weird. This one, what?
One.
I gotta break it out.
Name.
1 N A
Million.
One in a million.
Yeah, 1 in a million. Yeah. These are all kind of, oh, this one you might know. I've actually seen this one. That's a C. TC. Take care. Yeah, take care. All right. Now, these are all kind of supposed to be your all's language. I'm really kind of surprised how illiterate you are. But anyway, this is supposed to be, your all's bad reputation. How many people know what internal language is? You guys actually have an internal language you probably don't even realize, because if I was to go up here on another page, it has more writing on it that I didn't do. All I asked for was a pad. I should have said a blank pad. That was bad communication on my part. All right, so if I just say that, what does that mean?
Oliver Springs High School. Harriman High School. Midway High School. Rockwood High School.
You know what that means.
Yeah.
But outside this county, if I was to write those letters up here, they probably would not. If I was in my park profession, if I wrote does that mean anything to you? But to another park professional, that means the Land Protection and Recreation Fund, the Head Injury Concussion Test, or the Certified Recreation Park Professional Technician. That doesn't mean anything outside of this. We have our own internal language a lot of times that when we do the things we do, and we talk the way we talk, we're not trying to keep people out, but we do. And a lot of it is because of abbreviations. You just don't want to elaborate, kind of make things longer than they need to be. But a lot of times we don't realize that the way we communicate says more about us than sometimes even the words we say. What if body language truly is almost 80% of communication? If I was to come in here and start this presentation and start talking to you guys, I just had my hands like this, and I tipped this table over, and I slumped, and I looked really angry and all that kind of stuff. What kind of communication would I? How would you receive it?
That you were mad.
You what?
That you were mad or upset.
Yeah. All of that kind of comes across. What happens when you do text people? Can they tell what facial expression you're doing?
That's why you use emojis.
That's why you use emojis, right? Yeah, it's like the hieroglyphics of our time. Emojis, these little drawings that have hearts in the eyes, and there's one that vomits, and one that looks like the top of a cupcake, but I don't think it is. Those kinds of things. The first text message actually was delivered from a computer to a cell phone in what year? I'll give you a hint. You were not born.
1935.
Oh my God. No. Cell phones, should have said cell phones. Cell phones weren't around in 1935.
1992.
Oh my gosh. Did you Google that? Because that's it. It was December 3rd, 1992. Yeah, go ahead. 1992, first text message from a computer to a cell phone. Guess what it said? December 3rd, 1992.
Merry Christmas.
Merry? 2 for 2. You can buy a lottery ticket today. All right. Well, let's change the way we talk. How many people's parents ask you how your day was? Everybody? Okay. What is your response? Good. Fine. Okay. Was it really?
Yes.
It's probably better than how I say good. I always say good, but it's normally better than that.
It's usually better than good? That's good.
Yeah.
Why don't you say any more than just that?
Because then they ask so many questions.
Okay. And it's really painful when your parents care, isn't it? Because they really care about your life and what's going on and all. It's just, that's so annoying. Do you hate that? Yeah, I mean, those follow-up questions, because suddenly you may have to tell them things, right? That might go down a path you don't really want to go.
You have to talk about your grades.
Yeah, your friends and what you did and
Homework.
and what your friends are doing and why they shouldn't be your friends anymore and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so sometimes you just don't want the follow-up questions. Okay, how many people here ask their friends how their day is going? And what is the answer you give or you get? Is there a more honest answer a lot of times? Right. So if I took the authority away from it, suddenly there's a little bit more honesty to it. Well, that's a little bit about the way we communicate. Sometimes leading through leadership and communication is how and what we ask. Now, if I said, "How's your day, Kathy?" that is almost as unauthentic and caring as I can be, because that's a pretty broad whatever. But if I give a question that has a little bit more, it's actually broader, but it has a little bit more authenticity to it. If I said, "Kathy, how's your life going?" What's the difference in the two questions I asked?
The timeline.
The timeline is one. What else?
You get asked how's your day going more often than how's your life going.
You can?
A lot more, like, a lot of stuff happens in your life.
Yeah.
Days just kinda-
It requires a bigger answer. You know, if I say, "How's your day going?" I mean, if I asked her like at 9 o'clock in the morning, I mean, maybe not a lot of stuff's going on yet. But a lot has gone on in someone's life. And you say, "Hey, how's your life going?" And another thing is, do people care more about people's lives or their days? Lives. And just changing that little bitty thing. Okay, I'm going to change another one. "Hey, how's your relationship going?" If you, not against it. I'm not asking you right now. Okay, if someone asks, "How's your relationship?" Okay, let's not get into the romantic set of it. "How's your friendship with so and so going?" Or "How's your friend fill in the blank?" What do you usually say if someone asks that?
Okay.
Good. Yeah. Okay. All right. What if we change that to, "Hey, your friend so and so, what surprises you about them?"
It's an odd question. It makes you think.
Okay. Makes you think. And you can even say what pleasantly surprised. What's positive that surprised you about it? They're weird, or they're this, or you know, "Hey, did you know they only had 9 toes?" I mean, you can go into all kinds of weird sort of things. But suddenly that question, with just a few changes of words, changes everything. Okay? It changes your intent. And that's really what communication is all about. It's about intention. So another thing, how many people are afraid of public speaking?
Afraid of-
Public speaking. Because we're going to cure that in this class. Yeah, we're going to cure it. There is a cure for that fear. You know, the thing about public speaking, I, believe it or not, used to be afraid of public speaking. I mean, for a long time, even into college. And I had a college professor who, they called him Dr. Jackson. However, I don't think he ever was a doctor of anything. But his claim to fame was he took the beverage Sprite. He worked for Coca-Cola. And he took Sprite from its creation to the shelf. He did everything that Sprite is today. He took it from when they discovered Sprite all the way to the shelves and sold it and did all the advertising and the marketing and everything for Sprite. You know, from saying, "Hey, look, there's a clear soft drink, and now LeBron drinks it," you know, and all this. So, I mean, he did all of that. But he had a nervous breakdown. We didn't know this until later, but he had a nervous breakdown, and Coke let him go. And he ended up teaching at the University of Tennessee. That's where everybody goes and has a nervous breakdown. Anyway, so he ended up teaching at the University of Tennessee. And he taught a class called Creative Advertising. And I took it because I was in the degree of advertising. And at that point in my college career, that was just one of the many stops. But at that point, I was in advertising, so I took this class. And Dr. Jackson, the very first day, got into class. He's in a 3-piece suit. Does anyone know what a 3-piece suit is anymore? That means there's something besides just a jacket. He had a vest. He was all decked out like he thought some ad executive would look like. He said public speaking was like full frontal nudity. And we all just kind of, as college kids, just chuckled. And he started taking his clothes off. He got all the way down to his pants and a t-shirt before he finally stopped. And before we all ran from the room, holding our eyes. But, you know, he did that, as he goes, because it is the ultimate just sort of exposure. The thing is, what most people are worried about public speaking is they're afraid what they say will be rejected. They're afraid they'll make a mistake. And they're afraid that their information will be somehow questioned. Is that fair? Is that all the kind of fears that generate up in public speaking? A lot of people are very good talking one-on-one. Who's the most comfortable person you have that you talk to?
Our parents, friends.
Your friends and parents. Even though you just tell your parents, it's okay, it's fine. You know. But yeah, your friends, family, those are most comfortable people to talk to. Would you feel nervous doing public speaking in front of them? You would? Why so?
Because it like Sarah's probably the person that I tell everything to, but we also critique each other a lot. Like not to be mean, but to like help. And being critiqued is embarrassing.
I also feel like if I said something and like probably didn't even like mean it the way it like sounded, she would probably make fun of me for it. So
But the fact that you're laughing that she would make fun of you is probably okay, right?
Yeah, it's just like
it's a
a
love-hate
yeah.
relationship.
So her criticism comes from a place of love.
Yeah, I don't do it to be mean.
Or hate, whatever.
Yeah, but it feels really painful at the time. Yeah, love hurts sometimes. Yeah. Well, public speaking is not the thing we're talking mainly about tonight. I think that's next week or next month.
Next session.
Next session. But we are going to talk about what your message means. One thing that I don't know if we can capture on video is we're going to do a little activity here in a moment where how your words spoken and then heard are going to sort of see how good you are at it. And there's a good little exercise to do this. How many people know what a police sketch artist is? You know what that is? What does a police sketch artist do?
He sketches the criminal.
Sketches a criminal. Okay. With that in mind, I want you to pair up with someone not from your high school. So scatter around. We got all these chairs in here. All right, get scattered out, and then I'll give you your paper. So I know that everybody's got what they need. Alright, believe it or not, you do not have to be a good artist to do this. Contrary to popular, but you do need to spread out a little bit. You do need you guys to think.
Just throw my purse somewhere.
Oh, that's okay. It's not really.
It's been you every time, hasn't it? Alright, here are some complimentary Parks and Recreation pencils. They change colors when you grip them. Why don't you pick your color? They're called mood pencils, but I really think it has to do for how sweaty your hands are.
Feeling my finger.
Yeah. Are your hands cold?
Those from Rockwood are really like the green ones because they change their street color. Alright, now, what I want you to do is, anyone to the right of me is the person describing. Okay? So, you. The other person is the one drawing. However, you're drawing also. You are drawing what you're describing. You have to not let your partner see what you're drawing. So you need to almost turn your backs to each other in a way. And if you're describing, I want you to describe a criminal's face the best you can. And while you're describing it, you're drawing it. And while you're describing it, they're drawing it. And at the end, we're going to see how close they are.
So we just make up one.
You make up some.
And
I mean,
like we both make up the same person. And she draws.
You're describing the person. Let me communicate that better. If you're to the right of me, you know and you're describing the criminal, but you're also drawing. Okay? So while you're describing it, you're drawing. But in the meantime, they're listening and they're drawing what you're saying. Okay? At the end, hopefully, the goal is that they look similar. Like I said, they don't have to be carved. And look, these criminals don't have to look like anyone you know. Okay, so just go ahead and erase that thought of drawing your brother or something like that. Okay, they can look like Frankenstein or whatever. But I mean, but describe them. You know, squared off jaw, fat nose, wart, whatever, tattoo across his eye. You know, whatever, hair, however you want to describe it. But if you're describing it, you're drawing it at the same time. Okay? And then they're drawing while they're listening. Okay? Go ahead and start.
Was that me? Really okay. Super big round head. Okay, that's not as big as it needs to be. No, I just like small. Super big round head. Okay.
Short curly hair.
Okay.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Decently sized
Yes,
ears.
if you're drawing, if they don't give you enough information, you can ask
It has to
questions.
be close to a human's face.
It does not. It could be an alien scanner, it could be a grizzly bear, it could be whatever it needs to be.
Okay, a really bushy mustache that's kind of round. It's not like a circle, but like
Wait.
Really big lips.
Yeah.
It's like people was like going over.
And then she has like
What did you say?
A creepy smile.
and then she has like side
What kind of creepy smile? Smiling?
Very small. Creepy smile.
Okay.
A gigantic nose. Really small ears.
lips. And then she has
Waxed up teeth.
a small round nose.
One eyebrow. And she has very small ears.
Okay. Really one ear on his right ear. It's just a circle. Or like a dot.
bigger than the cute. She has a
Look at the mouth. He has big lips. Yes.
They're pointed at the
Okay.
very
He has
Long.
normal sized eyes.
Is that the whole body?
No, just the head, just the face.
Just proportionate to his face, like almond shape.
A very really big nose.
Ooh, creepy. Yeah. Okay, big bushy eyebrows.
beautiful.
And then she has big ears.
You should have like on point.
Okay, and then the round one.
She said she had
Ew, if somebody ever actually looked like this, that'd be sad.
Yeah, she has natural.
just straight up.
It's round.
Three eyebrows. Push
Okay, and then he has round glasses.
Is it like through the eye?
Really?
Yes.
He's a rebel.
Pointy.
Or you gotta be blind.
Uh,
Well, I don't mind.
and he has like
She has
a triangle goatee.
Hoops.
Yeah. And he has a huge mole underneath his right eye. Yeah, he looks really nice. And then he has what kind of hair? Let's see.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. But we're gonna give him an afro.
I think that's it.
Any mustache?
Who's that?
No.
And then
Can we look
It's a
if we're
beard.
done?
beard.
Can we look if we're done? Yeah.
Do what? No, don't look, don't. Turn the paper over.
From
for-
ears to
no.
like
Yes.
is where everything
And like a mustache, like attached.
Is it patched?
Adele.
No, it's cool.
Yeah. Is it long? Like past his
No, it's not.
I feel like he
Yeah.
needs more.
Yes.
and then it has 3 little borders.
If you can, try to wrap it up in the next minute.
Okay, let's see. I feel like the tattoo down here on his chin. Or a tattoo. The tree.
I'm listening to some of your descriptions. I don't want to meet any of these people.
Yeah, and there's a hole.
Not right
in
on
the
meeting
tree
weird people.
or-
So.
or- And then apples.
Is it what?
Oh, this is the ugly one.
Sarah, are you
Let's say that he's right in the tree.
I draw sometimes.
Who down here looks like a Bob Ross
Is that it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
Can you?
And he
Don't be
has,
hating on Bob Ross.
What?
let's
Is he
see.
just like a head?
Yeah,
Or
he's just
does
a
he
head.
have an
Hey,
He's a really small neck. Really cute.
about 30 seconds. Wrap her up.
Okay, finish. It looks like he's.
All right, if you're done, turn your paper over. All right. All right. Don't look at him yet. Don't look at him yet. Don't look at him yet. All right. Everybody's done. Okay, first of all, let's talk about this for a second. If you were describing the criminal, what were some of the frustrations?
Not descriptive
The
enough.
size.
No, I mean, no, if you were describing it.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is not the,
God,
if you were doing the talking.
these are different.
well, was there anything challenging about it, frustrating?
Coming
No.
up with unique things.
Coming up with something unique? Yeah, you didn't want just, you didn't want Charlie Brown's face, just a couple dots. No, you didn't want a weird emoji. What else? Was there anything? All right, this is where most of the frustration probably lies. On the person just listening and drawing, what was some of the challenges?
You kind of have an expectation
Okay.
to live up to. Because like they have an expectation in their head of like what it's going to look like. And ours could look completely different.
Yeah. And what happens a lot of times is you want to exceed that expectation, and you probably filled in gaps that the person didn't say. You know, they may have said squared off jaw, and you're like, I'm going to really square off this jaw. It's going to be like robotic looking, like Transformer square, you know, versus like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger square. What other frustrations or challenges if you were doing the listening and drawing? Did you feel like you were the one getting graded at the end, basically? Because it like felt like all the responsibility, and that's what a police sketch artist feels. All the responsibility is on their part, so they're having to really listen. And also ask questions. I like that someone finally said, hey, can we ask questions? Because, you know, that's part of it. You need to kind of fill in those blanks. Because what happens if you just start to assume and start filling in the blanks yourself? You're not going to come up with a very accurate picture. And that's not going to do anything about helping people figure out what this person looks like. Right? So, I know you kind of felt like you got the short end of the stick if you were doing the drawing. Okay, now flip them over. Share with your partner.
I mean, it's honestly pretty close. There's just
I just
different
wrote
ones.
that. Yeah, and I just
Actually,
Yeah.
where are all the
Eyes and then eye shoes.
oh, lips, got it, check.
I don't know what wash your teeth.
You read it straight up, trying
Is that
Animal is right.
I don't know. Oh, okay.
Sleep.
How do you spell frosting?
Nostrils look like hanging from his nose.
Well, those ears, those are really large.
I didn't have much room on this side of the
Elephant
head.
ears, yeah, you got it. That's actually pretty close too. That's really good.
Yeah, we both have.
Maybe the closest.
Yeah.
Although that's really close. Actually, I have, I can't believe you, there's no winner or loser to this, but I have to
So
say
we both
this,
had a unibrow.
it's pretty close.
Wow.
Pretty close. Pretty, you know. I mean, we're not, hey, this isn't a beauty contest. This guy,
That looks like standing.
not only is not attractive, he makes bad civil decisions.
Yeah, you gotta.
But, you know, that's actually not too bad. They're really close to, you guys actually all did a really good job of describing and kind of portraying it. When they said elephant ears, you guys, box checked. You make us elephant ears. So, excuse me. That is just another way of just trying to, like, in your communication being almost as detailed as possible. How many people have a teacher, don't include me here. How many people have a teacher that just doesn't give you enough information? And how frustrating that is. What happens, how do you do in that class? Terrible? Okay? They don't give enough information. What information would be helpful?
How to actually do the math problem.
How to do the math problems, what the grading scale is going to be like, what's really the expectation of that paper you're supposed to write. My daughter has an uncanny way of asking a lot of questions. Every time we ever went to any student conference or any little open house and we talked to the teachers, the only thing most of them said about my daughter was she asks a lot of questions. And, you know, some people would think that's kind of not a good thing for a teacher to say about it. You know, most teachers think they're really effective at communicating. They don't really need that. But I always thought that was kind of a compliment on my daughter that she really wants to know. Because I didn't ask a lot of questions in high school. And I didn't do that great in high school. So I think being, first of all, bold enough to ask teachers and to care enough to ask questions to get the information you need is a first really good sign of getting things right and doing things the way you're supposed to. So don't be afraid to ask questions. How many people are nervous about asking questions? Okay. Why would that be?
I don't know. I'm scared of the response.
Okay. How many people have ever said there's no dumb questions?
That's what teachers say.
That's what they say all the time.
And then they make you feel so stupid.
That's what I'm about to say. There's no dumb questions. And then when you ask, you're like, well, that's just stupid. Yeah, there is that sort of double-sidedness. How many people actually think asking a question is like a sign of weakness? We have been conditioned to think that somehow asking questions somehow means that we don't get it the first time or we don't understand everything. But do you understand where our world would be if we didn't ask questions? Do you know where you would be if your parents didn't ask one question? Like at least one. You know? I mean, do you not realize some of the things where you would be even in school if you didn't ask questions? First of all, you would really be frustrated because you didn't know where the bathroom was. You'd be really hungry because you didn't know where the cafeteria was. You would really be upset because you didn't know where classes were and things like that. Asking questions is never a sign of weakness. Nor should it be a sign of weakness to be perceived if someone asks you a question. When you guys were drawing those pictures a minute ago, did you feel people asking questions was frustrating? Because you both were trying, this is a little different, both of you were wanting to make this match. But sometimes people don't see question asking as a good thing. Any questions? All right, sorry, I couldn't resist. All right, we're going to go on to, we're going to take a little break here in a second, but I want to get through this first. They're considered, how many people kind of know what the 7 deadly sins are? We're not going to name so much the biblical ones, but we're going to talk a little bit about the 7 deadly sins of communication. That's a really loud water bottle, sorry. The 7 deadly sins of communication. And I think you're going to recognize all of these as people who, just not the way you want people to kind of communicate with folks. First one. Gossip. What's gossip?
False accusations.
False accusations. What else?
Just repeating things that you heard about other people.
Right or wrong. Right? Repeated over and over. What happens every time it gets repeated?
It changes a little bit.
Changes a little bit. Each person tells their version of it. They snip and they cut a little piece out. They trim a little bit of it. They maybe make it juicier. Maybe make it, maybe I can actually change the story. Suddenly the person who was in the right is now in the wrong. Now the person who did the good thing is now done obviously a bad thing. Gossip is one of the worst forms of communication, and it happens so often. I would like to say when you get into the real world that it goes away. I'm going to tell you, it gets turned up. Gossip follows you, probably will follow you the rest of your life. But you guys are the kind of people, as leaders, that can start to change that. What should you do when people start gossiping? That's the first thing you should do. What's the first thing you do when people start gossiping? Let's start there.
Tell them shut up.
Tell them to shut up.
Yeah.
I just say something good about the person they're talking about.
That's that. What happens usually in that?
They turn their conversation around. They don't want to talk bad about somebody you think good of.
Yeah, you suddenly punched a hole in the boat, didn't you? Sort of let the air out of it. Gossip's only good when it's so bad, right? Suddenly you made this person seem like not such a bad person. Now suddenly you're the victim. You're suddenly the villain. They're not the victim anymore. So gossip. Another way is just, I like to shut up because you really do need to stop it. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's a good group of people that's going to keep going. Sometimes the only real response is to leave. That is communication as well. That is telling them, I'm not going to hear that. I'm not going to be a part of that. Because sometimes you get gossip by association. How many people have been in a group and gossip's been going on, but you didn't participate, but you were at the scene of the crime regardless. Because you were there. Sometimes you just have to remove yourself. All right, second, worst kinds of communication. Kind of goes along with it a little bit. Judging. How many people communicate with someone who judges all the time? They're just constantly, they're talking about how they play sports, they're talking about how they date and who they date, and the way they dress, and the way they talk, and the way they act. Just How effective is that? What do you think of people who judge?
You judge them yourself.
You judge them yourself, but what else? What do you think happens when you leave?
You get judged.
You get judged. Yeah. So if you're gonna be one of these people that do this, you're gonna probably, first of all, you're not gonna be as popular as you think, because they're gonna think as soon as you leave them, you're gonna gossip about them. If you're one of these people that use this form of communication, they're gonna be thinking as soon as I leave, they're gonna go over there and say about this person. They're gonna be always judging. All right. How about these people? The Debbie Downers. You know any of these? Everything is what? Oh goodness. Everything's just Monday, 7 days a week. Always raining. Always. No matter how great it is, it's just negative, 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 negative. I remember there was a guy I went to school with, and I remember when I was in college, college is one of those places you get to kind of, have fun and do stuff you may never got to do before. I always wanted to, fence, and I'm not talking about taking stolen property and getting money for it. I'm talking about like actually fence, like sword fencing. I always thought that was the coolest thing in the world. When I got to UT, there was like, hey, we have a fencing team. You want to try out for it? I'm like, yeah. Obviously the standard wasn't very high. I made it. And so I got to go fence, and I remember my first fencing tournament. I didn't do very well, but I was like pretty jazzed up about making my first fencing tournament. I got to hit people with a metal sword. I mean, not a bad day, okay? I come home, go to my friend's house. I'm telling his dad, I was like, hey man, and actually he said, he goes, hey man, Rick was in his first fencing class, or fencing tournament today. Literally the guy's dad said, why the heck did you want to do that? What do you think, how you think I responded? I want to get that sword and hit him with it, is what I wanted to do. But I mean, basically I'm like, why would you do that to somebody? If someone's obviously excited about something, and they've got this fire in them, why would you go get the fire hose and put it out? Those kind of people. The problem with these three right here, they have an audience. People who are negative find other negative people. People who gossip, they find other gossip people. People who judge, they form an army, these folks. And you can sometimes almost diagnose them at the door. You can see them coming. It's like their attitude is 5 feet in front of them, like clearing a path. Any people ever saw the movie Mean Girls? Mean Guys, I saw it. It's confession time, I saw it. That was kind of funny. It's, you know, that is, what is that movie mainly about? Besides Mean Girls. I mean, what is the premise? What are those people called?
Clicks.
The pops, or the populars, or the whatever, cliques. It's all about this. They all had them all kind of, but they had a following. Everybody wanted to see them. Everybody wanted to beat them. All right, how about this person? I know you know this person. The complainer. We got a complainer to hang out with. Not maybe by your choice. Maybe you're in a class. What are things they complain about?
Everything.
What you I heard homework and
Everything.
everything, yeah, everything. Yeah, sun's up, sun's down, just complain. Yeah. Does any of the complaints they have, is there much of a solution to them? That's usually the thing that kind of grabs me most about complainers. The things they complain about really aren't in their control. Can you control the weather? Well, so was there any sense of me complaining about not being able to go outside and play the balloon game? Nothing I can do about it. We just have to make do. You know? I mean, complaining is, most of the time, complaining has an ugly cousin. Do you know what it is? Whining. People like that are whiners. The thing about whiners are, there's no really cure for that either. They don't have a solution, and they don't even want one. When they come to you complaining and things, they don't really want you to solve it. They want the stage to kind of do it. What about this person? Full of that, full of excuses. It's another really negative way of communication. They're always got excuses. What do you think about people who always have excuses?
Their credibility goes down.
Credibility goes down. What else? A little bit. Just accountability. Just to come up and say, hey, I was wrong, I did that. I'm my bad. Instead of pointing blame to everyone around the room. These are another one. Really, really bad. How about these people? Know any of those? Did I spell that right? Braggers? I'm a horrible speller. I'm just gonna go ahead, no excuse. I can't blame that on okay high school. I was a bad speller then, I'm a bad speller now. If these markers had spell check, my life would be so much better. Braggers. How many people know any braggers or people who exaggerate? What do those people like to be around in the way they communicate?
They always make you feel bad about yourself because they kind of like to one-up you.
Yeah, and that's the thing, the one-upping, always. You know, I went to the beach, had a great time, met some new people, got some numbers, blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, went to the beach, they named it after me. You know, I mean, that's just, you know, they have to like jump the cliff every time, you know, no matter what you've done. You know, it's always that sort of one-up thing that just drives people bananas, okay? That bragging. But you know what bragging really kind of is the costume for, the disguise of? Insecurity. These people right here, like these people kind of can be lumped together. These people can be lumped together. And that they are what we call the I people. I did this. I did that. I'm really good at that. You think you're good, I'm better. You know? You think you're in good shape, I'm in better shape. Obviously I'm not, but I can say it. You know? It's all about the I. And we're going to talk about I people here in a minute. All right, the last one, just kind of a weird name, but the ones who are dogmatic. You know what that even means? Dogmatic. It's my way, or it's no way. They're kind of in the same sort of category. It's me. It's my way. You gotta do it my way or you can't do it. Do you anybody like that? These are all ways people talk. These are all the ways people speak. These are all the ways people communicate. That any of these you think have a place in leadership? Is any of this have a place in getting people to do what you want them to do? Does any of this have any kind of trait that you would want to work for, be around, date, be friends with, go on a trip with, or invest your money in? No. So those are the things you need to avoid. Here's the cure on the other side. And it's not that frozen rock that falls from the sky. How many people even know what, by definition, what the word hail means, not the frozen rock? What else does it mean? It's a greeting. It's a what?
To like praise something?
To praise something, it means to greet with high enthusiasm. Like, hail Caesar. You know, just so excited for Caesar. Loving some Caesar, okay? That's hail Caesar, all right? But we're going to break this down. The effective ways to actually communicate is the reverse of those 7 that we talked about. The first one is this. That's a Y. Honesty. Did I spell that wrong? With a weird Y. Honesty. Being honest. How many people really appreciate honesty? Now, that's a scary thing. Hey, how do I look? Hey, does that taste okay? How's my driving? Why did you look at some people that yeah. Honestly, why did you look at some people?
Because Sarah used to tell everybody I was a terrible driver.
But I'm actually the bad driver. Like, really bad.
So this is why you guys are good friends.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah.
sounds like we hate each other, but we really don't. We're good friends.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You're honest with each other. You both are really bad drivers. I mean, honesty is really one of the best communication tools there is. Abraham Lincoln said, "Never lie, you'll never have to remember what you said." That's pretty profound for the 16th president. To really think about, you know, if you just tell the same story over and over again, you know, if you're lying, keeping up with the lie is so hard and difficult when you don't have to. So, I don't know what that was. Honesty is the biggest thing. But again, is there too much honesty? I mean, can you be brutally honest? Is that effective sometimes? Is there a way to say it honestly with a little bit of sugar sprinkled in? Do you look at, how do I look? Good. You look better, but you look good. You're okay. It'll work for today. All right. The other one is, I actually have to look at this because I will miss it. Like I said, I'm a horrible speller. I've also got really bad eyesight, so. Authenticity. What does that mean?
Being real.
Being real. Being authentic. Genuine. Real deal. Being the way you are. Being the true person that you are. Being authentic. All these things that we just looked at over here were not, were they not? Bragging, gossip, all these other things that you talk about, those are all things that go against authenticity. So, what does it mean to communicate with authenticity? If you're going to describe something, if you're going to describe that criminal, and you're going to do it with authenticity, what are you going to do? What's another word you could use? It's going to be accurate. It's going to be the way it is. And the way it is that everyone can understand. Okay, the other one, the other I. Integrity. What does that mean? It's a word that gets thrown around a lot. I'm not sure everyone really knows what it means.
It's kind of like what you're doing when nobody's watching.
It's one of the best definitions I've ever heard for integrity. When it matters, you know, doing the right thing for the right reason all the time. Not just when people you want to impress are looking. Okay, last one. And not gonna get all romantic and hippie on you. But just being a place, like you said, you're a horrible driver. So am I. It's okay. We have insurance. You know, I mean, it's coming from a place of love. How many people know, oh my gosh, I just took a complete blank on the guy who played for the Dolphins, and then he got booted off because he was harassing another teammate. You know, when he got called to the carpet for all these horrible things he said to this teammate that caused this guy a huge emotional distress, he said, "Hey man, that's just locker room stuff. It came from a place of love." And he literally said that in an interview. And I remember how ridiculous that sounded, because then they played the tapes, and there was nothing loving about that. It was vile, violent, racist, disgusting stuff this guy was spewing, not only in the locker room to the guy's face, but on text, but on voicemails, but on all this stuff. It was just horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. But he actually had the guts to say, "Oh, I love that guy. I love that guy so much, I called him a huge racist word. You know, I said I was going to do things to his family. I said I was going to kill him and dismember him." I mean, these are things he said. None of that sounds loving to me. But you know, being able to communicate from a place of love, that doesn't, like I said, we're not talking about romantic love, we're not talking about free love and hippie love and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about generally loving what you're talking about. How many people have something they just love? Something, not somebody, something you really love. And can you talk about it in a way that people can relate that, man, that person really loves that? That is what I'm talking about. All these things are what makes people listen to people, and this is what makes communication effective. If you can speak with these four things, you can be honest, be authentic, you can have integrity about it, you can really let people know that you love something, they're going to listen, and they're going to be very intent with it. Any questions? Then we're going to come up, we're going to wrap this up. Let's take about a 5-minute break, because you guys have drank water, and I know what happens. So, she'll pause and we'll get back.